Okay, welcome everybody. Sorry about all the mix up. Hopefully we don't have anybody else lost somewhere trying to get on, but I think we're okay. First I want to mention that we did get together for the Stampede thing, which you guys I'm sure read all the email or saw the email anyways. We know that sometimes they can be hard to read because there's so much in there. But just to say that we've started on this, we kind of have a deadline of about a week from now to just say that you're interested in submitting an image. We're going to let people submit up to 2 images if they want help in choosing an image. Like if they have 2 that they're not really sure which one they want to enter, or they want to enter 2 in case one fits our concept or whatever better than the other one, or fits with the other photos that are chosen. And then I think it's April 9th that we kind of want to have, we want to be able to see the images, but they won't have to necessarily be done editing by then. But we have to submit a thing before May, beginning of May, that says, kind of says the images, and we have to figure out what size and stuff, because we have to put the value of it for insurance purposes, because they are insuring all the, they will be covered, we will be covered under their insurance. So it has to be written down, the value of what we're putting up, and that has to be in the beginning of May. So we have to get going for that. So and yeah, and the theme is fairly wide open. And like, if you're worried that your picture doesn't suit the theme, then we'll all work together in creating a title that might make it sound like it is, because he said that he just wanted it to be open, so fairly open. And that's all. So it'll hang, George and I both can take it up there, so we've got a ways of getting it up there for sure. And George says he'd be able to bring them back, so we've got that part of it covered. And yeah, they won't be for sale up there, so it's more just publicity for our photo club. They'll put things up for our photo club or whatever, signs and whatnot. So and the sizes, we're kind of hoping for a variety of sizes. So we're hoping that once we see the images, we might suggest that we'd really like to see this one in a bigger one or small one. Ultimately, it'll be up to the photographer what size they want it printed. But if we see something that we think would look really nice bigger, and that's then we'll make suggestions or whatever. And as long as we're kind of close to that, I'm not sure if we get 10 or 12 images. As long as we're close to that, then the committee will probably just help everybody and decide what and do the jurying. But if we get quite a few images, then we'll probably get some outside help for the jurying process. And I think that's all I want to say about that. So we hope to get a good representation and all sorts of different, just like our club, get a good representation of what our club's about. So Chris, I haven't talked, is Chris on here? Yes, I haven't talked to Chris yet. Is there was enough images for a field trip slideshow?
Yes, there is.
Awesome. And can you show it?
I could.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, you need to enable screen sharing.
No, I did, but I did it probably before we messed up.
In the other meeting.
Yeah, I did in the other meeting. Okay, try now.
You're seeing it okay?
Yep, I think so.
This is Mike. I don't see anything.
You're not seeing it?
Yeah, I can see it fine.
No, I'm not seeing it.
Well, that's strange.
Really strange.
I can see it.
Are you on the right view, Mike?
I can see that I'm viewing Chris Oates' screen.
So we've got somebody's phone.
That's mine.
Okay. It's creating a gray.
It shouldn't be me.
That's creating a gray box on the screen that I'm viewing.
Sorry.
Is that right?
So you got it, Mike?
He
I'll
must have
assume
left.
So I'll play it.
He must have left and went to log in again. Anybody hear it? Awesome. Did you get back on and could you see that, Mike?
I came back in about halfway. I don't know what happened,
Yeah.
but for some strange reason, my printer started printing.
Well, you can watch it on your printer later.
Okay, we're gonna go through the theme kind of. We decided we're never doing another theme like this again. Because it really turns into more of an ad segment than a theme. It was kind of, I don't know how we came up with this one, but we'll show you what we have. It was just really hard to critique the images because they were shot for that, if you know what I mean. But thank you, Chris, for putting that together, and thanks everybody who went out to the field trip, and of course to Sigrid for arranging that. So I'll try to share my screen. Sorry. Hang on a second. I don't see it. Okay, can't show them both at the same time. This one is Byron's. Like I say, we weren't really sure how to critique these. This is a really good, I'm going to throw up the information so everybody can see what the f-stop is over here that he shot it at. So this is the first image of Byron's, which he shot at f13. Sorry, trying to get rid of this on the sidebar. There we go. Just shot at f13, and you can see that, you know, all of that area there is in focus. And this one is at f5.6. He's shooting, and now we have to make note that the, you know, note of the lenses too, because the lenses make a difference. So this is shot at 115 millimeter, which is a fairly long for a lens. On some of them, we tried to decide which one we preferred. Some of them, it was kind of up to the viewer, I guess, as to which one they preferred. Some of them, it was pretty obvious which one is the better picture. This one, I don't think we could quite come to a conclusion because it really depended on what you were looking for in the image. Whether you're looking for those exact words and those words meant something to you, then this is more what you would want to do. Or if there's only one word and you really wanted to capture what that was, then something like this would be it. So looking for any other comments. Byron, I don't know if you want to talk about it at all, or if he's here. I don't know if he's here. All good? Everybody good? This one we really felt was the best example of the two different apertures. The bird is definitely the subject, and there's no, you know, you can tell that for sure. And then this is his at f22. That's the first one. So this is Trevor Miller's. So the first one's at f5.6. So you can see it just makes a difference on the film or on the lens and your distance you are, because 5.6 isn't normally what we would consider all that shallow of a depth of field, but in this case, it works.
Come say goodbye to you. Goodbye.
George and Wayne, did you have anything more to say on this other than?
No, I just think it's a good example. The first one really shows the subject. This one, that one, the other one, you kind of get lost and confused and all the noise around it. I'd like to hear Trevor Miller's comments if he's got any.
Somebody in my neighborhood has a whole whack of lawn ornaments underneath a great big spruce tree. And I wasn't sure exactly what we were wanting in this. It sounded like just show depth of field. So that's all I did.
You did it very well.
Yeah, yeah. I think the one thing that I'd noticed here is the previous shot with the shallower depth of field works so nicely. It's nice and crisp and sharp on the bird there. On the next shot, my understanding of what the theme would be to pick what they call the hyperfocal distance point, and then you'd get somewhere between the bird and the country store. And so they both almost have the same amount of sharpness to them. But again, with a 135 and looks like very close quarters there, it can get tricky to find that hyperfocal distance.
Yeah,
I
I was
don't think we
about,
were really talking about the hyperfocal distance for this theme.
yeah.
Because
And if I had done that,
I think
if I'd focused in between, yeah, I would have gotten that. In both cases, I focused on actually that forward anchor point on the closer wing, where I was focusing on. But I was about 3 feet away, something like that, 3-4 feet away. And
Right, yeah, because that's a
I think I could have
135.
gotten, if I went to manual focus, I probably could have gotten
Yeah.
something.
But
more like
the
that.
other factor that comes into play is the distance between your foreground and the background as to how, pardon me, how much that can be put in sharp focus with a 135 makes a difference.
Yeah, we weren't, asking for to get everything in focus. We asked to shoot one at the low aperture and one at the high aperture, and that's exactly what he did. And with this lens and at the distance he chose, it did really well in showing in creating that bokeh effect.
Yes, excellent. I think one of the best examples of this for sure.
And he gets bonus points because he's got his copyright information.
That's built into my my import.
This one is Mike's, and we also thought this one was a really, really good example of it. So this one's at f/29, and again, he's shooting with 105, so I'm guessing that's a macro lens. And then this one he's shooting at f/3.5. And when you're shooting with a macro lens, especially, that you can get away with a higher f-stop and still create lots of bokeh. Not that 3.5 is extra high, but we thought this was a really good image too. And I loved how the background, like the white in the background, kind of frames this image, and this part of it created a natural vignetting around it. Mike, do you have anything to say?
No, I took the instruction, and this was, like you said, the 3.5 and the f/29. And I frequently use depth of field to kind of filter out the stuff in the distance or sometimes in the foreground that I don't want in sharp focus. I'm kind of surprised at this image right here that I'm looking at on my screen, because I'm seeing lots of kind of pixelated lines in it. And, when I'm on my own, on my own screen, it's just like so pristine, it's amazing. So I'm a little disappointed in seeing that. But can you go back to the one with the previous one? Yeah, see, again, I find the depth of field just makes things stand out so nicely. And so I do use it a lot. It's a choice that I make frequently depending on I'm seeing through the viewfinder.
But it is a good example, like I said, of watching, like I know in floral photography, that happens a lot, that you watch the background, even if you're shooting in a shallow depth of field, that you could create, a framing or something around the background.
Yeah, and I did choose this because of exactly what you said. Like, I like how it does have a frame around it, but if you go back to the f/29, it's hard to see that there.
It is. It is.
But, and I don't know, I'm sure most cameras do, but I have that depth of field preview button on my camera. So even as I'm looking through, I can just press that and I can see what's going to be out of focus.
Right.
So I don't know do all cameras have that?
I kind of forgot all about that.
Yeah, there's a button right on the front of the Nikon. It's a DA50 and it's the depth. I use it as the depth of field preview.
Mhm.
So anyhow, but these days, actually, it's just as easy to look at the back of the camera and decide, should I move it a little left, a little right, you
Mhm.
know?
Right.
Mhm.
Some of the new mirrorless don't have depth of field previews anymore, so
Okay.
people have been complaining about that because some people like to use them. But
Yeah.
But if you're shooting with mirrorless, you what you see is what you get anyways, right? It's
Yeah.
always depth of field preview.
now, Mike, I don't really see it pixelated on my screen. It looks actually very good. So
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good here too. I think it just might be the bandwidth on your end there, Mike.
Yeah, something's weird. I've been kicked out 4 times here tonight and I've never had that happen before. And who got credit for putting in their copyright?
Trevor, I think.
Trevor Miller.
Okay. I see I got mine here, but it's 2010, even though I took it
Oh
too.
my gosh.
I better change that.
Close enough, eh?
You took it yesterday and it showed a copyright of 2010.
It's because I probably haven't changed it. Mind you, the camera's newer than 2010, so something odd's going on there. I'll have to look into it.
Well, you could be doing it in Lightroom. It's one comment I want to make about this one, that you could, if you want to improve this image, you could look for something in the background that either frames this, like is really this, even though it's out of focus, this yellow is a little bit distracting.
Yes.
But if that's what we were looking for,
Mhm.
ways of improving. But I mean, it's not really that I'm saying that this one is, but just to know that even if you are creating bokeh, there are still things to look for in the background. And this one is Ian Thompson's, I believe. Oh, the names aren't showing up there. Yeah, Ian Thompson. So this one is at focal length aperture f16, and he's at 220 millimeters, so he's got a really long lens on it. Not everything in focus, but definitely the background's in quite a bit of focus. And then this is with it blurred out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this shows it quite well, as you pointed out, that the focal length, if you've got a longer lens, it's going to stay out of focus, even at a smaller aperture, as opposed to, and I think George had mentioned when we were critiquing that a wide angle lens, it's very difficult to get that kind of bokeh effect.
And Ian, are you on here? Did you have anything to comment? He might not be there. I didn't notice him. Yeah, so they're both shot at 220. And just change the focal length or the aperture. So this one is Gorda Ayers. This is another one that at least I felt that it was hard to tell which one you liked, and it kind of depended on what you're looking for. So this one should be the small aperture at f1.4, and in which case, basically, this is the first railing is the only thing that's in focus. And this is shot at a higher aperture of f16. And I kind of like the detail in the trees and a little more detail there for a bridge picture. I was saying that the other one, often we take portraits that are in front of here. And in that case, I like that background to be blurry and falling out like that. But for me, I really like this picture. So, and what, this is an 85 millimeter, it looks like, on both of them. Yeah. Gorda, you here? No. Anybody else have any comments then? Not this time. So this is Wayne's, and Wayne showed it a little bit differently because he was fooling around with the hyperfocal. So then in this case, he's definitely focused on the bird, and he's at f4.5. And again, even though it's at 4.5, you still get quite a bit of blur in the background. And this one, you were trying to get the hyperfocal, right?
That's correct, yes.
So this is in focus, but a correct hyperfocal would have gotten the bird more in focus.
Mhm.
But being at f32,
Yeah, and with 40 mil focal length there too. So I think this set compared to the previous set from Gord shows what you're dealing with when you're working with a longer lens.
.40 millimeter is not a long lens.
No, I meant Gord's. His was longer.
Right. This is John's, right? I think. Where's your name, John?
Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, I was saying that this is a good example of helping you with pet photography, because you need to be really aware of that. For a dog, you really want the eyes and the nose in focus. If you had this type of picture for a dog, it just, even though we normally say the eyes are what's important, they are, but it's really distracting if the nose is not. So you have to make sure you have a high enough aperture to catch both of those two in focus, and then see where it goes. So this one was at 3.3, so it's pretty small focus, and it's 105 millimeters. So I'm guessing that's a macro lens. And here's one where he bumped it up to f40. So when you're taking dog pictures, you wouldn't necessarily have to go up that high, but this definitely shows that the whole polar bear is in focus. For the background, well, you're starting to see detail because the background's really blurred there. There, you're starting to see the detail.
How big was that bear, John?
It's, I don't have it in front of me right now. It's maybe
8 feet.
yeah.
Get in front of that
No.
purple background.
Yeah, my original idea actually was I thought I could tone the blue down to make it look more like a blue sky, so it would look more realistic, but that didn't work. It kept turning purple on me. The figure is probably only about 5 centimeters, maybe 6 centimeters tall at the head. It's not very big.
Right. So again, showing where you're dealing with something smaller.
Yeah.
And you're shooting it close up, your aperture handles things totally differently than if you're shooting like the train bridge.
Right. Well, and it sounds like maybe I misunderstood too. So, because I took it at the extremes of my lens, which really, I mean, very much shows that change. Yeah, I purposely focused in on the eye, but yeah, I thought it was interesting how at 3.3 you can't even with this, because
You're that close, yeah.
You're that close that you lose the sharpness, just even though it's less than a centimeter to that nose, it's already blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you're doing wedding photos and you're doing ring shots, you learn that you need to focus on the clasp of the ring, but you can't shoot it at, you think you want to shoot it at 1.4 to blur out the background, but you can't. The diamond will be out of focus. You have to shoot it more like an f9 or f8, and in order to get the ring, the diamond and the clasp in focus and have the picture work. So yeah, when you're shooting macro, it's really a lot different than when you're shooting with one of the other lenses.
Yeah.
I thought your example was perfect, John.
Yeah, you did what we asked for. That's for sure. We're just kind of commenting as education, I guess, or whatever, to say,
Oh yeah.
when you would want to do this. I didn't mean to say that it was wrong or anything, or that you should have been trying to get him in focus.
No, I'm agreeing with you. That's a better photo would have that in, but like you said, it was that I understood that it was intended to see the difference between,
Well, it was.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that if you were taking a dog picture, that's what you would have to do, that you have to take that into
Yeah.
consideration.
oh, it's very good.
And that
good point.
these two examples show that really well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think
As they were
Laurel,
talking-
your comment on these pictures, a lot of us approach this basically as a test or a sampling to show the effect, as opposed to getting something that we'd mount on our walls. And
Right.
although some of these that were sent in would certainly make a nice wall-mounted photo. Not mine, though.
Yeah, and if I can just make the comment that this is really good for learning your camera and learning your lens, like understanding your equipment, this type of an exercise.
And what I feel like this would be a great project for the photo club to do, but it didn't really fit with the theme within the theme parameters, because it was really hard to critique these images. You know, like I said, there's nothing wrong with this photo. So, and there's, you know, nothing wrong with the other photo. You did what you were asked for. So how do we critique it? So that's the hard part. But I think it is a wonderful project or exercise to go through for the photo club. And we could definitely, you know, do that kind of thing. So then when we were going through all of these, and none of them were a wide shot, and we started saying how we have to start watching the lenses we have and stuff. And I didn't have this entered at first. And then I says, well, I did go out there and I shot with my 35mm, which is a long shot, which is a wide lens. And just want to show in this case that shooting at f1.4 with the 35mm and shooting at f16, which is the largest it would go, really doesn't make any difference in the background. They pretty much look the same.
Yeah, that shows it really well.
You can see the difference in the wheel, like you can tell, not this one, I guess at f1.4, that this is what's in focus and this is a little bit off. But as far as the background goes and stuff, they are, you know, so when you shoot with the wide angle lens, it's pretty hard to get a difference. If that background was closer, and because I use it a lot when I'm in weddings, and if I'm shooting probably not something small as a ring, but if I'm shooting a glass or whatever, and you're close up to it and you've got a background that's close so that the difference is there, then it works. But for something like this, it just yeah, you need something different if you want to create that bokeh effect.
So Laura Lee, I actually do see quite a bit of difference in the bridge, like underneath the tipple there. Like it's very sharp in this image. Like I can see, and there it goes quite fuzzy, I find.
Quite,
Like,
but not as much as if you had a telephoto lens and shooting at 1.4 and
I agree.
160.
I agree. I'm just saying that even on the 35, I see that it makes a difference as to what's in focus.
Right.
Because this is all the way through, sharp all the way through.
Mm-hmm. When you're looking at this area, you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't look there. I was kind of looking at the trucks and stuff over here, and I couldn't see much difference there.
Here on this one, I can see like all the braces of the bridge there underneath that tipple, and you go to the other one and they're more of a blur.
It's more, yeah.
A little blurred, but yeah.
I'm not sure if, well, who knows when you're out shooting. Not sure that the effect is different enough that it would affect how you shoot or whatever. Like I can't see a reason you would want to shoot this way to get that a little bit blurrier, but who knows when you're out shooting or what you're shooting. But and I believe should be the last one. Anybody else have any comments or want to talk about any of the ones before I escape here? Thank you to those who submitted, and thank you to Wayne and George for helping me critique her last night. And we could sure, hopefully, well, the next one will be a print club, print meeting. We should probably talk about that later, but if it's going to be the open meeting at the CASA, it will be prints that we take in. And well, we haven't discussed it as a photo club, but the last few times we were doing prints, we have been just critiquing them on the spot there. And so we used to have people come in from outside of the club, and perhaps once we get going again, we'll do that. But I think probably this time, this is what we'll do, is we'll put the image up there and have a couple of people who can lead the critique, but then really get some conversation going with the members that are there. So Denise, are you here? Yes. Are you ready to show your show?
I certainly can give it a go here.
Okay, so Denise has our secret assignment for today, and she's very nice, and she's supposed to be doing it for next month. And I said, can you do it for this month? Because I didn't think we had enough content, and she whipped it up because she's always the first one to send in slideshows and whatnot. So
Let me see if I can find it. Okay,
oh, yeah.
here we go. All right. Any guesses?
Not me. Somebody on there was guessing. Well, go ahead. You guys guess.
It's a mystery to me.
Hallucinogenic drugs.
Kind of. No.
Different reality.
Special effects.
No. Altered images in the chat. Yeah, kind of. The word that I was shooting to illustrate was distorted. So I did a bunch of in-camera stuff and a bunch of Photoshop stuff, obviously, and just some natural distortions, like the tree with the big gall on it and that kind of stuff. So
Right.
Actually, the tree with the pregnant stomach and the man's face made me laugh out loud.
No.
That was great, yeah.
And your image of the bridge,
The
like
bridge,
Yeah.
all bent and out of shape, was fantastic.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
that's Photoshop.
I liked the woman as a balloon. That one made me laugh.
Yeah, that was
Well
my
done.
friend. She wanted a photo shoot and it was just as COVID had set in. So as a photographer, I wasn't actually allowed to work. So we set everything up in her backyard, just in front of like a white backdrop. And then I put in the background and made her fly and all that afterwards. So,
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
lots
that's
of really great pictures.
Yeah, well done.
thank you.
Can I just ask Denise, those the intentional camera movement kind of blurred pictures, is that all processed through Photoshop or something?
They were about 50-50. Some were in camera. The tree with the colors
Uh-huh.
was an in-camera shot, and the black and white one at the end, that was a processed in Photoshop.
It was really cool, all of those.
Oh, thanks.
Really good. Thank you. And like I say, for coming up with it ahead of time, Denise is always on the ball and 3 steps ahead of me. That's for sure. So
I'm on an old retired fart now. I got lots of time. So.
yeah. So that's was wonderful. So Annetta, are you back on? Yes, you are. Except you're muted.
I am.
There you go. And are you ready to do this? Gonna try?
Sure.
Awesome. So
Try. Yep.
I'll let you just tell us what you're going to be showing us and carry on.
Okay. Should I screen share first? I think I will. Okay. Okay. We were at our last exec meeting, we were talking about things we could do in Lightroom, and we were talking about presets. Lots of photographers out there have made presets that you can purchase, and some are not that expensive and other ones are actually quite expensive depending on what kind of look you're going for. So I thought I would start. So I've pulled a few images here. I definitely won't do them all. I'll start with this is using a preset of my own. So I have created my own preset, and these are really beneficial, especially for portrait photographers. I'm assuming, well, I use it for landscaping as well. So you can use a preset for a whole slew of landscape shots. So if you go to Waterton, your lighting is the same, the time of day kind of is the same. So if you have a whole series, you can actually use that preset for that whole series, and it saves massive amounts of time in editing. So I'm going to show you what I start with, how to make a preset. So I'm going to start with this image. So this is what's come out of the camera. So it's really light, and this is a cloudy day. So the first thing I do is I adjust the white balance, or the Kelvin, So in this case, probably about 5200 for me. So that already warms up the photo. It's not so flat and gray. I always add 15 contrast. And then I come down and I use the tone curve. I honestly don't know how all the things work other than it's highlights, lights, darks, and shadows. So it really plays around with it. And I'll go to what I normally would use in my preset. And I tried to go for a backwards C. You can do more or less. You have to play with it. And so, and then my other one that I change is luminance. Sometimes if your camera's a little bit grainy, I add a little bit of luminance to do that. And profile, I always enable remove chromatic abrasion. That's the green that you get in the branches, and sometimes some magenta that comes out depending on the light of the day. And then enable profile corrections, so it knows what camera lens you're using and it changes it for that. So you can actually see how distorted that actually is. So take that out. And I find with my camera and other cameras have the same thing. They have a color cast. So I always add 14 of green because mine tend to be, I think, a little bit on the red side. So this is my basic preset. This is what I apply to all my images, no matter which one I have. You have consistency in your editing, you have a style, and it stays the same. That's your base. So from there, once you've made the changes you want, that you find you're always changing, or that you always want to bring across to all your images, then you go to the left-hand side here where it says presets. You click on the plus, create preset, and you can call it whatever you want. So I'm going to just call it Photo Club. Oops. And you have to make sure that all of these in the settings area here are checked off that you have done in your side panel here, because otherwise that doesn't come across. Everything is there, and create. And then it'll pop up over here. So preset, so we have Photo Club preset, you see another basics preset. So it's pretty close. This is not, yeah, this is edited, so it's not quite right there yet, but. So that's that. And then so now I'm going to actually go into the library. Say this one, for instance, I can set the preset. So on the right-hand side under quick develop here, you have basic or default settings. You can go in here and you can pick your preset. So user preset, Photo Club preset, or another basic preset, which I'm going to do. Okay, so and then when you import all these images, this preset is applied to all your images. So these, any questions so far? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So now I'm going to go back to develop module. And so now this image here is still not where I want it to be. I'm going to bring down the highlights a little bit. Preset. Then you now go in here and you start tweaking your image to like the exposure. I go in here and I adjust highlights and shadows a little bit more. It's still not warm enough to suit me. That's about where I want it to be, roughly. So now these girls kind of pop off the image where they didn't before. So just trying to make sure. And did I See, I still have some chromatic abrasion here, so you have to sometimes go in there manually and adjust it a little bit more. So I want to make this a little broader range and bring this up. It's about 4. There's a bit of magenta in here. So now they're turning black, and that's what you want with your branches. You have to make sure though that when you do this defringe or chromatic abrasion, that you don't affect the clothes, because I have had that happen before. If they're wearing kind of the same color tone as the magentas or the greens in there, you can affect the color. So that's what I do when I'm editing. So this one here, I've applied my basic preset. You can see that right here. And then I would go in.
Audio is breaking up on my end here.
Same.
And bring down the exposure a little bit more, so these girls just literally pop off the page. That's probably close to what yeah, I know everybody's been breaking up on my end. I'm not sure if my computer thinks it needs to do some updates or something. I'm not sure. I don't know what's causing it, because my connection keeps kind of going in and out, and I get disconnected and reconnected. So I think there's something going on in my background. So, so now I'm going to go to purchased presets. So I'm going to decrease mine here. I will do these girls here again. So basic sorry. Cole's Classroom is a good place, kind of. It's some
Kind of frozen right up now.
Yeah, I think we lost her. Give her a chance to log back in and it might be cleared off again. She's getting.
I have a question for everybody. So when Neda was talking about removing chromatic aberration,
I'm back.
Oh, maybe she can answer.
It's okay, go ahead. No, go ahead. I don't know what the question was. So
Yeah, no, I haven't asked.
I don't know what the question was.
So the question is, when you're removing chromatic aberration and it does affect other parts of your picture, how do you go about it?
Just don't ramp it up so high. I don't know, because I don't think you can erase it. Yeah, you have to. It's a fine line, because then you have to start playing with the sliders, because you can get to it without affecting the clothes. But good question. I don't have it very often that affects the clothes. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah, I don't have a solution either. It happens very rarely, but yeah, I came across with that it affected part of the image that I didn't want it to be affected.
right, yeah. So I will screen share again, and I'll go to the button presets, because I think that's kind of where I got cut off. Share. Here we are. Okay, so as a Cole's Classroom is bought in presets from a long time ago. So Dreaming Color I had purchased a long time ago. So, you know, I find new photographers that are just getting into this and want to make changes and don't know. I hope I don't lose you again. My internet connection is unstable. So when they don't know how to use a side panel, this is where they kind of go to. So, but having said that, I just purchased some from Caitlin James. She's a photographer I've done a workshop with, and I love her stuff. So she breaks it down actually into step 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first step is foundation. So you're going to either pick something here. So she has lights, brights, bold, and bold. So I think, what had I done? Bold 2 gets me started. So it depends what you were looking for, whether you want your image to pop or whatever. And I don't think I can apply changes here, no. And then step 2 is to refine it. So you can save your highlights. You can brighten your shadows. Oops, I didn't want to do that. And darken shadows, contrast boost. I did this one here. And highlight saver. I'm getting closer. This is also, again, I guess for newer photographers, that is your tone. So I had picked Honeyworm. We'll fix that. And so step 4 is color refining. So you're going to either boost the color or reduce greens, especially if it's a really green background, you're outside and it's grass and trees everywhere, then you're going to take down the greens a little bit. Orange.
Oops. Lost her again. Oh no.
I'm back.
Back.
I'm back again. I'm gone again. So I hope that's about the end of it. I think you got most of it. So, but I don't know if anyone else has questions.
Do you want to
or other
stop your
questions?
screen sharing and then, or have you?
I don't think I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not screen sharing anymore.
Yeah, it's coming up saying your network bandwidth is low. So yeah.
Yeah, which is odd because we have high speed here. We have Axia, so that's impossible. But whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, as I'm looking at Annetta's background there, I'm seeing the same sort of painterly effect that I saw in who was it, John's background?
Mm-hmm.
Nice, but I'm not sure where it's coming from.
I don't know. Not sure what you're seeing.
This is just a straight up image. Like I haven't done any painterly stuff to it. So
I'll take a screen grab and I can show you at another meeting or something here.
okay.
A question, Annetta. When you were going through the purchased presets, it looked like when you were going through there, you were actually applying a preset and then applying another preset on top of that. Am I correct in assuming that? I wasn't sure. I didn't know that was possible. To me, anytime I've used a preset, if you select the second one, it just overwrites the first one.
No, I think in this set from Caitlin James anyways, that it keeps on changing it. I
think it would depend. Like
I think it keeps just adding on top, layers on top of it.
Yeah, which like one preset would be adjusting the color, the next preset would be adjusting the, say, contrast or something. So it's not, excuse me, resetting it every time. If you have a preset that works with all of the adjustments, and then you do another one, it's gonna that works with all of the adjustments, and it's gonna reset it, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends how the presets are set up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Annetta.
So, Annetta, can you say something again so we can get your picture on screen, and I'll get a screen grab here.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, but I've still got more.
He wants you to sing.
Oh, yeah, sorry, not happening. Even though I was in choir, I don't, no, don't do solo, sorry.
Don't worry about it, Wayne.
No problem.
Okay, awesome. Thank you again, Annetta. And yeah, put a lot of work into that for us. George, are you ready to try yours? See what your bandwidth, you were kind of cutting out when you were first talking once, so hopefully your bandwidth is okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. If not, you have it. I'll just share my screen.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about it before the show, I think.
Okay, I put together these pictures. Oh, just a minute. Okay, share.
Make sure you turn your sound on.
My sound's not on?
Make sure you clicked on share screen sound.
Oh, I did. I clicked both those boxes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So anyways, I took all these pictures in 2015, about 3 months after I made a decision to take up photography as a hobby after I retired on January 1st of 2016. So a friend and I went down and did a workshop with a guy named Don Smith at Bryce Canyon, and I don't know if it's called Zion or Zion, so I keep getting confused. But anyways, this is my early attempts at photography, and if you haven't been to Bryce Canyon or Zion, it's a pretty good spot to go to. And if you're in the RV mode and like the winter in the southern US, there's lots of parks. There's Arches and just several other parks in southern Utah, as well as Death Valley and things. So it's a good spot to go. And for those of you who have never heard of Bryce Canyon or Zion, I hope you enjoy this. Okay, I'm gonna let her rip.
Beautiful. I want to know, did you re-edit any of those pictures like lately when you put the show together?
Sorry?
Did you re-edit, or I don't know if you edited them in the first place, but did you re-edit them or edit them now?
No.
No, awesome.
What I did in 2015,
That's what you showed.
I didn't re-edit anything early.
Oh, well, they were beautiful. You really caught the light, I think. Really nice.
Yeah, I like that, George. Captured it well. Brought back some fond memories for me of going down there. So, looked good.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, and very nicely done, George. Yeah. And whereabouts is this place?
Bryce Canyon and Zion are right in southern Utah. So
Utah.
it takes about, well, it's a 2-day drive. So I think we drove the first night to Idaho Falls and then got to Bryce Canyon the next day. I think late afternoon.
Very nice. Spectacular images there in that.
Did you go into any of the, all of yours were kind of shots of the whole canyon kind of thing or whatever? Did you go in, because those are where you get those really cool images, right? In the canyons or whatever in there?
We went down I went and got a bunch of night shots down in the bottom of the canyon to get Thor's hammer, but other than that, no, I just followed my Photoshop or my photography workshop guide, and I found it kind of strange actually. So that's the first workshop I ever been on, and so I set up one morning and I took my time. I was looking at the scene and trying to figure out what I'm going to compose. And I just about found one and I heard him shout, "Okay, let's go." So we had to rush and go to the next spot because he was basically chasing the light for all the workshop participants. And
Right.
you only got very little time at each spot. So
Very cool.
So it was kind of strange in that way, but I don't think I would have got all that canyon lights up like embers in a fire when the sun first comes out, and I likely wouldn't have never got shots like that without being on that workshop. So.
And he actually help you to get the exposure and whatnot, right?
Not very well.
He was there more or less to get you to the locations.
I thought it was more of a photo tour than a workshop.
Right.
Okay. So George, have you gone on any others since then?
With that guy?
With anybody? No, with anybody.
No, the very next year. So in 2016, I went on a couple of workshops with Dave Brush and Paul Ziska, and I've gone on a couple with them, and
sorry, I'd like to interrupt you. So did you enjoy those more?
I was totally amazed at the difference between Paul Ziska and Dave Russia. They spend a lot of time with you, showing you compositions, talking to you at your camera and tripod. And the one in Bryce Canyon, the workshop leader, he had his camera out and he was shooting his own pictures all the time.
Okay.
I didn't see Brasha and Ziska shoot too many pictures when, I mean, they had their cameras, but they shot a few, but they spent a lot of time with people that paid to go to their workshop. And then I went on one with Monica Deviat a couple of years ago at Dinosaur Provincial Park, just north of Brooks there. And And she was really good. She spent a lot of time with people so my experience has improved quite a bit on workshops from that first one, Mike.
Okay.
And then Monica Deviant, she's the one who just did a workshop that you guys could have all listened to 2 days ago or so. And I also see she's doing another webinar with the Camera Club, I think. So
Yeah.
I know that she's really, really good because George said he enjoyed her webinar too. So.
And if anybody's signed up for Light Chasers on Pincher Creek at the end of May, she's one of the speakers there. They got a lot of good speakers there, so.
Which one was that, George?
It's a conference called Light Chasers. And it's on May 27th, 28th. And it's being held in Pincher Creek. And so it's just a bunch of talks. But there's plenty of time to race out and go shoot some things. So I'm gonna go shoot on Friday night and Saturday night, probably Sunday morning. And
it's actually a really good price, right? It's 200 and something.
Well, that price is over now. So that one, it was $275 for the 2-day conference, and which I thought was a really good price. I think it's $350 now or something. The early bird price ended on February 28th.
Awesome. Thank you, George. That was really, really good to see. Chris, have you got your next show? Did you get people sending you info on their pictures?
Yeah, there's a few.
Okay. So this is a favorite images of 2021 show.
Part 2.
Part 2.
Alicia, I have never seen a walnut tree until you came into my life. They said you should be cut down, that you were dead. They said you weren't worth my time, but you were. You lived and flourished. You blossomed with love.
I'm Annetta Slingerland, and this is my favorite image for 2021. This girl has my heart. She came to us in May as a kitten, has given us many a laugh, and has helped to heal myself and our family from a really rough place. She is the sweetheart on the inside, she's beautiful on the outside, and she loves nothing better than to curl up on my lap and enjoy some mum time.
This picture of snow geese was really a wonderful thrill for me. I've heard of the massive flocks that often take a rest stop in this region during migration. This was my first time to see it up close, and what an experience it was. We drove out to Stafford Lake one day last fall, and I got some pretty good pictures. The light was wonderful, but it really was the experience of seeing this sight that thrilled me the most. I had been feeling pretty low of late, and this immediately lifted me up, filled me with awe and amazement. As Freeman Patterson said in his seminar recently, take notice of the world around you. Be curious about everything, all that you see, hear, and feel, because every day is filled with new things just waiting to be discovered.
Gail Shaw. I chose this photo from 2021 as my favorite photo because it is of 3 very important people in my life. My mum, my cousin, and my aunt. While on a Saskatchewan holiday, we took a day trip to Waskesiu. My cousin, who is one of my best friends, has been fighting her second bout of cancer for a couple of years, so every moment I get to spend with her is a gift that I treasure. To have my mum and her mum along for the day was priceless. Kim Godwin. This photo is my favorite photo of 2021 because of the sheer excitement my friend and I shared when we saw these mule deer bucks. We were going down the highway with my friend driving, and he yelled, "Grab your camera," at the same time braking and making a rapid U-turn. I didn't know which side of the highway to look, on the ground or in the air, close or far, and he was too excited for words. Finally, he just pointed and shouted, "There!" No other photo last year matched this level of excitement. Maximo. This image has a lot of meaning to me because it got me out of a shooting funk. I've been struggling with creativity for a while and honestly not taking many pictures for a few months. I decided to chase a storm into Park Lake and came back with a picture I liked. It isn't the best photo, but it filled me with energy and triggered a positive feeling that made me start going out more to take pictures with a more positive attitude. Sigrid. I was out with Carla Whiteside and Michelle Bedster in September. We were going to Chinook Lake on our own little photo field trip. Carla knew of this little spot that we could take a picture of Crow's Nest Mountain. I love this picture and the way the sun lit up the top of the mountain and the unique clouds that surrounded it. I had so much fun this day, and being in the Crow's Nest Pass is my favorite place to be.
Thank you, everybody, for submitting those again. That was a great show, Chris, and I really enjoyed all of your talks on this one and the images. But yeah, Ralph just commented the stories were just really great this time. And George is saying this is our favorite segment. So there's still a few out there who have not submitted. You probably nobody who's actually here, but I'll see if I can prod some of those ones to send in some more images too. Maybe we'll have a part 3. I hope so, because this has been a really, really good exercise for everybody, and we've really enjoyed it. Anybody else have any comments, questions, anything?
My cat is on my lap right now.
That was really nice.
I think we should do this every year because I really like this segment too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So remember that for whoever is president next year. So
maybe we should do an image of the month and do it monthly.
well, I think we'd get a little, I won't say old, but a little bit hard. I mean, I feel like the photo club has so much going on right now with all the webinars and everything, and we're going to be going through a lot. I think it would be pretty hard for all of us to submit once a month. Once a year makes it nice and special.
Oh, but just following Carla's idea, it doesn't have to be everyone, but if it's, 3 or 4 people, that might be all we need.
Mm-hmm. It's well, we'll definitely talk about it, the executive, and see if they think we should give it a try. Anybody else? If I haven't forgotten anything, then the only thing that I have left is I didn't put together an actual webinar or an actual ad segment, but I've taken a couple of online videos on how to create the star effect and some different tips on that, because our theme next month, I'm not sure if we actually called it sunburst on our website or not, but it would be basically the star effect. So whether you get that from the sun, or whether you get that from stars, or whether you get that from street lights, these are just some tips on them. So see if I can figure out. Sorry, I need to find it again. Yeah, this one's more about outdoorsy one, so this is probably what most of you are interested in, but I found it pretty good.
Greetings, solar babies, and welcome to Pro Photo Tips. My name is Josh Cripps, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Joshua Cripps Photography. One of the coolest things you can do when you have the sun in your photo is turn it into a starburst. It gives it some character, makes it so much more than just a blown out spot in your photo, and the process is easier than you think. So let me show you the 4 simple things you need to start making some radical sun stars. First and most importantly, you need a high f number to create a small aperture. The smaller your aperture is, the more the sun's rays will diffract through the opening and create the burst. Generally speaking, f16 through f22 is a good range to use. Next, the burst effect is best when the sun is as tiny as possible. The more pinpoint the light source, the better effect you'll get. So while you can make great sunbursts when the sun is high in the sky, try shooting it just as the sun rises above a mountain or just as it starts to go behind another object in your frame, like a tree branch. Also, it's important that the air be clear when you try to do this. Any haze in the sky or clouds blocking the sun will significantly reduce the burst effect. Here you can see the sun is being filtered by the clouds, and while the light rays still show up a little bit, they're nowhere near as prominent as they would be if the sun was unobstructed, like in this photo when the sun dropped into a clear slot in the clouds. Because you're putting the insanely bright sun in your frame, you have to pay close attention to your exposure. Otherwise, you're likely to end up with a pure white photo. I find that underexposing by 2 stops is a good place to start. Just pay attention to your histogram to make sure you don't clip your shadows while trying to tame an untamably bright sun. Then use a program like Lightroom to recover the darker parts of the photo. If you've got the previous 4 things nailed, then I can just about guarantee you're going to see a great starburst in your photos. But it's also important to note that your lens plays a big part in the process. The number of aperture blades your lens has, as well as the shape of those blades, makes a huge difference in how your sunbursts look. And there's a lot of variation between lenses. So experiment with the lenses in your lineup to see what works best for you. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with your solar baby buddies and subscribe to the channel. You can also join our newsletter for the latest tips.
And I'm going to show one more, just a little part of another one because it gets more into the street photography. Oops, hang on, I need to call it up first here.
Of all, the light source has to be a solid hard light. On a clear day, the sun will do it, but if there's a lot of haze, it won't. If you have street lamps, they will produce them, but a larger light source like an LED display panel, when big enough in the frame, won't produce them. Basically, to get this look, you need to close down your aperture. There needs to be enough light let into the camera for you to expose properly. So if you're shooting at night, you definitely need your camera on a tripod. So here is a sequence of images from my camera in aperture priority, going from the widest to the narrowest aperture. As you can see, as I close down the aperture, the beams start to appear, around about f11 depending on the camera. The next thing that controls the look is how many aperture blades there are. The more aperture blades your lens has, the more beams you'll get. Weirdly, there's also another thing that controls the amount of beams that you can get in the shot. If your lens has an odd number of blades, it doubles the amount of beams that are produced. If you have an even amount of blades, it produces the same amount. With the 40mm Samyang that has 6 blades, there are only 6 beams. With the 10-18 Sony, it has 7 blades, and this produces 14 beams. With a 50mm 1.4 Canon, it has 8 blades, and there are 8 beams. And with the Sony 85mm 1.8, There are 9 blades, and this produces 18 beams. This is really weird, and the first time I was told this, I didn't believe it. But I went out and tried, and these were the results that I got. Just make sure you don't use a telephoto lens and point it at the sun. This could damage the inside of your camera. A little bit like an 80s kid with a magnifying glass and some ants. But we won't go into that. One thing to be aware of is you really need a clean lens. Any bits of dirt or dust on the lens will show up as you're dropping that aperture down. These will become obvious when you look at the shot. So make sure the front and the back elements are clean. And that's about it. Whenever I'm shooting and I have some of the shots with street lights, car lights, or the sun in it, I always make sure that I get a shot where I have these beams of light radiating from these points. It's another look that you can have, and it adds to the repertoire of shots that you can produce.
Okay. That is it, I think, for our meeting. And I hope that helps you guys go out and get some sunbeam shots so we can get a few more theme pictures than we did this month. Does anybody have any questions? I'm also open if anybody has questions about getting those, and then maybe somebody else here can help us with answer the questions.
Are you going to talk about, I think you mentioned at the beginning you were going to talk about the print show next month?
Oh yeah, I could talk about that. So next month is a print show. We haven't talked about it as the executive, but if we run it the way that it was before, then you'll just bring your prints for the theme, and I believe the theme is the sun starburst. Usually it doesn't matter what size you bring it, but we do put a stand up front. Hopefully we have the same setup. We have to figure that out. So that the image is up front, and we usually have 1 or 2 people who are leading the critique. And then we do ask for input and try to get more conversation going with the membership. Because the image is up front and you're not actually holding it in your hand or anything, it's kind of nice if the image is at least 8 by 10 kind of thing, so people can see it. The bigger the better, but we don't expect you to print a whole bunch. They will also be laid out on the tables before the meeting. So we probably try to have the critique after our break so that everybody can look at the images during the, well, I guess it doesn't matter which way it goes, but they'll be laid out during our break or whatever, so you can get a closer look at that time. Oh shoot, I forgot I was going to say something. Yeah, they don't have to be brought in early. Oh, the mat, they do not have to have a mat on them, but they should have some kind of firm backing on them if you're not going to put them in a frame. If you're going to put them in a frame, that's good too, but it's better if you take the glass out so that we don't have to worry about the glare or anything, so that the frame just kind of helps to hold the image. But again, you can put a mat around it if you want to, or not. But the main thing is that you do have that it's not just a print up there. You need it mounted in some way onto a piece of cardboard or a piece of foam core or something, so that the image will stay up on our stand better up front. And you're not judged on the matting or the framing or anything like that. That's why it doesn't matter. It'll just be the image that we're not judged, but it's just the image that we're critiquing, just like we do when it's a digital image up on your screen. We're only critiquing the image. Does that help?
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. And I do have next month booked at CASA, so barring a big outbreak or anything, we will have it there. It would be nice if we could have it hybrid in some way, that we can Zoom part of it or something, but we haven't talked about it at the executive to figure out exactly what would be the best thing for that. The images we'll probably ask the people who have submitted prints to give us the digital images too, so that we can get them up on our print or on our photo website, so that you can look at them afterwards. But other than that, how we can go about getting the actual meeting, we'll probably try to have an ed segment where the speaker is via Zoom, so that both whether you stay home or whether you go to the meeting, you can take part in that. But again, we haven't finalized all the information. And usually, I don't know, we also haven't started talking when we were doing in-person meetings, we always started them at 6:30. I'm not too sure if we'll move that to 7 or not, but you'll have to watch for that. And then hopefully we continue there. It is booked for the rest of the year there. Our critique meetings will probably keep going via Zoom, but the regular meetings so far for the rest of this year are booked at CASA now. Any other comments on how we might make the meetings go good? Everybody looking forward to getting back together in person or not? Or
Definitely looking forward to in person.
Sigrid, anything new on field trips coming up?
I am going to stop by Greenhaven and see if we can do a field trip there and do flowers and stuff. I actually work at a greenhouse, but we've lost some of our crops, so we may not have as many flowers as Greenhaven. So I'm going to go see if they'll do something. And then there's another one in the works for either May or June, but I can't talk about it yet. And whatever month that mystery field trip's going to happen on, Crow's Nest Pass will happen on the opposite month. Does that make sense? And that takes us to June. And then summer.
And also out at the museum or out at the old vehicles, aren't we? Yeah.
Oh yeah, we still have that. I have to have a Crow's Nest one for sure because that's our in memory of, and I don't want to be the coordinator that misses that field trip. So, but yeah, oh yeah, and there's the junkyard. And then I contacted the Galt Railway Museum, but that might not be till July or August because they're not even open until that time. So, and if somebody wanted Nanton at the Cutes Museum or Flowers or whatever that is out there. So I run out of summer and summer months. We have lots of things planned. So, but yeah, so we might have a month where we're going to do double our field trips. Then we'll do the junkyard maybe in an evening, and then in a couple of weeks when we'll do whatever I have lined up. So does that work for people?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Thanks.
The Crow's Nest one is usually in when? Like May?
Well, we usually do it in October, and I thought I'd like to do it in spring this year. So, but I'm wondering if that was a good idea to move it, because now I'm starting to find lots of things that we could do, and so.
It's nicer anytime.
And I can keep you updated with the weather.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'll let you know once the snow's all melted.
So, yeah, so that's our field trip schedule for the next few months.
Okay, and I just want to remind everybody about, I'm going to actually share my screen here, I think, for a second. Hang on a second. I just want to show anybody who hasn't gone to look at the calendar that I started setting up, and that's where I'm putting the webinars. And if you click on them, like this one for Dax Shepard, and there's only a few people signed up for him, but it sounds like a really good webinar. So if you click on there, I will put all the information that they have given us for that webinar. So if you're looking for webinars to find out whether you're free or not, this is where you can click on to see what information you can find and what day they're on, the time, and then you just message me to let me know that you want to go to the webinar. And then here we have Cole Thompson. So just a reminder of, you know, as much participation as we can get for that one, because it was our club that is paying for this one and signed him up. So I will stop share. And I think that's all I have to share. Any other questions, comments?
And how do we get to the link to the calendar, Lorelei?
You're going to need to email me or and ask me for it again, because I sent out it kind of like an invite to everybody, so I'll have to send it out to you again. So I can go there right now and send it to you, but so watch for it in your email and it'll give you the link, I think.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome. So if everybody's good, I think that's all I have on my agenda, and hope you haven't forgotten anything.
Well, thanks, everyone.
Yep. Thank you guys for coming. And happy shooting, I guess. So see you guys. I'll end the meeting. Thanks again.
Thank you.